Today is Thursday, August 13th, and it's a great day to be a sports fan. It's a great day to be a podcast fan because you guys are ready for another episode of Chatter from the Cheap Seats, the number one podcast in all of Potomac, Maryland. I'm your host, Jack Feldman, alongside my co-host, Sammy Krimstein and Oree. Make sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at chatter_cheapseatspod. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple iTunes. Make sure to leave a voicemail at 202-743-1767. That number is also in our bio on our Instagram. If you click the call button in our bio on our Instagram, you're going to get that number. And then also, please subscribe and like all our videos on our YouTube. Turn that notification bell on. And yeah, Oree, how you doing?
Doing another day in quarantine where, I'm cooped up, but, at least I've been able to get outside, play some baseball. I know Sammy has a game today.
Well, it actually got canceled because it was weird because yesterday I have a baseball field right near my house at my high school, and I walked over there. It was like a perfect day. It was beautiful. Walked over there. I was going to, just do some hitting, get some fly balls, all the fun stuff. And I went over there, and it just starts pouring all of a sudden. And it's like sunny while it's raining. It was really weird, and my dad was actually going to drive and meet me there, so I couldn't really get home, so I just had to wait in the dugout while it was pouring rain, and that was fun, actually, just to be out of the house, I guess, but I didn't get to play baseball because the field got soaked as soon as I got there. But, yeah, my game got canceled today. I actually got moved to tomorrow, so, it's all good, just another day to wait.
And, Jack, how you been?
I had a good day. I had my fantasy draft tonight at 9 o'clock, which is my big league that we play in for money, so I'm excited for that. As you guys can tell, I kind of have a gambling addiction. No, I'm kidding. But,
call him Michael Jordan if you want.
Yeah, we've had a lot of controversy over our fantasy football league. We are actually making a commissioner switch, and that's a big deal. And I wanted full PPR. These idiots in my league want half PPR for some reason. I have no idea why. But, you can't win every battle. So I'm going to draft a team. My problem usually is I make too many trades. So I'm going to try to limit the trades. I'm not going to make any trades. If people want to make trades with me, if they want to propose the trades, I will look at them. But I'm not going to make any trades unless my team is really bad and it's an absolute necessity for me to have a good year.
See, that's
or if I just think someone's an idiot and I can pull the wool over their eyes a little bit. But, yeah, I think that I'm not the best fantasy football player. I definitely know what I'm doing a little bit. But what's the big topic today is George Kittle, highest paid tight end. Now, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to football, but does the San Francisco 49ers GM know what they're doing? Because they just gave George Kittle 5 years, $75 million. Sammy, do you think that's worth it?
Absolutely. George Kittle has basically over the course of 2 years turned himself into the best tight end in football, and the only other guy that you can even put in that conversation is Travis Kelce. But George Kittle is an absolute monster. We see what he can do. He's great at creating space, and when he has the football, he's a scary force. You don't want to be defender and in his way at the same time because he's going to run you over or he's going to make you look silly. George Kittle is an absolute athlete, and it's well-deserved. He is one of the best tight ends to come along in this game in quite a long time. I like what the 49ers are doing, and I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, totally. I 100% agree. He deserves to be the highest paid tight end because he is probably the best tight end in the NFL. And even though he didn't play a full 16 games last season, he still had over 1,000 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. Now, although that is less than he had in 2018, obviously he played 2 fewer games, but something that's really interesting that I found while I was looking at his stats is that his catch percentage skyrocketed. Even in 2018, when he was incredible, his catch percentage was 64.7%. And then in 2019, it was almost 80 at 79.4, which is ridiculous. And it shows how good his hands are among his route running and just his physicality. I mean, he will run people over. I remember when he stiff-armed like 2 people and ran 15 yards with like 3 people grabbing onto his legs. It was just
I remember that play.
incredible.
Well, and the thing about George Kittle is that he's more than a tight end. He's not just, a guy who's going to line up there, do some blocking, and maybe catch some contested footballs. He is a wide receiver, in the same sense. He has great hands. He's fast. He's athletic, like I was saying. And, at first when the 49ers were trying to extend him, that's kind of what he was making his case. He said, I'm not just a tight end. He's much more than that. And I agree. And that's why he's getting this huge deal. And I just wonder, is it going to limit the 49ers' capabilities to purchase other pieces? Because we already know that they're paying so much money for Garoppolo, and I can imagine that payroll is getting pretty high. So do you guys think there are any more pieces they would be needing? And if so, does this Kittle deal make it more difficult for them to open up?
I think their offense they have a good offense. It kind of depends on the fact of whether you think Jimmy Garoppolo is legit or not. We've heard many people think that he's the real deal. A lot of people think that he's not the real deal.
Yep.
And their chances, it kind of depends on how good Jimmy Garoppolo can be. I think that they have a pretty solid defense. I think that they're a pretty complete team. I don't think they're as good as the Ravens. I don't think they're as good as the Chiefs, but they're a solid team, and they're definitely going to be in contention for the Super Bowl next year. Now, some interesting news broke about 20 minutes ago. The Chiefs said to the 49ers, anything you can do, I can do better. They just signed their tight end, Travis Kelce, to a 4-year extension that will keep him with Kansas City through the 2025 season. And that duo of you got Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL. Now you got threats on the offensive side, like from the pass-catching side as Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins. The Chiefs are looking even scarier now that they locked him up. Now, I don't think anyone is going to disagree that this is another good move. I think that both moves, the Kittle and the Travis Kelce move, are both very good for their teams. What do you think, Oree?
Well, yeah, I mean, both of those guys are at the top of their game and at the top of the league in their respective positions. What I think sets Kittle apart and above Kelce is that Kittle is not only a tight end, like Sammy said. He's also that receiving guy. And
I don't think you can say
Kelce is also kind of like that, but I think that Kittle really embodies both positions perfectly because he has the physicality like Travis Kelce, but he's got great hands. He's faster. I mean, I think he's more of a threat offensively than Kelce is. And I mean, do you disagree with me, Jack?
Yeah, I think when you say that Kittle is better because he embodies the wide receiver or the pass catching tight end, I think Travis Kelce is just as much of a pass catching tight end as George Kittle. I think he's just as much of a threat, at least. I think that they're both kind of equal. When it comes to pass catching, I think they both are kind of the same. I would say the same archetype when it comes to tight ends. I think that they're both pass first tight ends, and I think that both of them are very, very valuable to the team. And I think you can make a legitimate case that Kittle is better, but I don't think you can make that case based off of passing because last season Travis Kelce, he had over 1,000 yards. He had 1,229 yards, 5 touchdowns, 12.7 yards per reception, which is ridiculous. And I don't think you can make that case based on passing.
Well, I think it's interesting because for Kittle, he is the primary receiver in that offense. Whereas for Kansas City, they have a lot of other weapons. And you could make the argument that Kelce is the number one guy, but I think more people than not would say that it's Tyreek Hill. And I think that actually makes Kelce even maybe more valuable or just as much valuable because what he does is not only he's an athletic guy who can haul in these crazy catches and get like 12 yards per reception, but he takes attention away from Tyreek Hill. And those are two guys who are tough to guard. And I think having both of them makes each of them all the more effective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. I think Kelce is super important to that offense because, as you said, he takes attention away from Tyreek and allows him to be on this man-to-man coverage, and Tyreek will burn any man-to-man.
Well, and that's what makes the Chiefs' offense so tricky to guard.
Exactly.
There's not really any way to do it. It's almost impossible. I mean, from a passing game standpoint, I mean, there's no way to stop him with Kelce and Hill and even Sammy Watkins, who is really, really
Watkins
good.
is a legitimate threat. As the number 3 option on their team, he's a legitimate threat. And I like what we were talking about, all these great tight ends with Travis Kelce and George Kittle. I always like to draft a tight end fairly early in fantasy football, just bringing it back a little bit to my fantasy football. I kind of want to get your guys' input a little bit because 3 heads are better than 1. I also want your input, our audience's input. You guys can do that by DMing us on Instagram, TikTok, _CheapSeatsPod, leaving a voicemail 202-743-1767, and subscribing and commenting on our YouTube videos, which is just chatter from the cheap seats. But guys, do you think it is valuable to draft a tight end early just because of the dramatic fall off in the position where you kind of got the first tier of guys like Kelce, Kittle? I think it's fair to put Mark Andrews up there fantasy-wise.
Not yet.
Last season, what he did. I'm not saying in the NFL-wise, but I'm just saying fantasy football-wise. And then I would say maybe Gronk. And then you kind of get the second tier of Zach Ertz, guys like that. Do you think do you guys like drafting tight ends early?
Well, I think if it's Kittle and Kelce, yes. I think, because like I was saying, they're more than a tight end. They don't just serve that traditional role. I think
you would draft them in like the 3rd round, 4th round.
I think if they're available, they're that good. But I think other tight ends, it's just the production isn't good enough. I think you could get better, fantasy production from like a wide receiver or a running back. You could get at the same point. I think tight ends, unless it's those top guys, Kittle.
The problem though is there's such a dramatic fall off from. I mean, other than you got Mark Andrews, Gronk, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle. Gronk. People say Gronk is going to be right. I mean, he only missed 1 season. It's not like he's been out of the league for like 3-4 years.
I mean, can he stay healthy? I mean, I know
that's what we're seeing. But I think other than those 4 guys, I wouldn't feel confident. I would feel confident with one of those 4 guys as my tight end. I wouldn't feel confident with Delaney Walker or David Njoku or a guy like that as my tight end, or even like Eric Ebron, Hunter Cooper. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really need a top tier tight end to feel comfortable from a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you're talking about those 4 guys. You could maybe even put Zach Ertz there. I mean,
I think he's a tier below.
I mean, I think his production, he's had years where he's been like that. I think he's been more inconsistent, but I think he's had moments where you could put him in that top tier. But honestly, I think the only guys you should consider drafting early, tight end wise, Kittle, Kelce. Besides that, forget about it. Save it till later because you could get similar production from other dudes.
And I think a lot of it also dictates the draft you're in. If people are taking tight ends early, then maybe you want to take a tight end early so you don't get stuck with a guy like Eric Ebron, for example. But if like tight ends are falling, maybe you can wait until like the 7th round and draft a guy like Mark Andrews, who's a very, very good player for his draft position. But now let's move on to the AFC East preview. We did the NFC East last episode. This week we're doing the AFC East. And do you guys mind if I started off?
Hey, go ahead.
Let's go.
So I started off with, I don't think we're going to have many arguments about the last place team in the AFC East, which I have the Miami Dolphins. I have them at 2-15. At their schedule, I was looking at their schedule. They have a pretty tough schedule. They have to play teams like the Patriots twice, the Buffalo Bills twice, the Seahawks, the 49ers. They have a pretty tough schedule. And I don't see them beating any teams other than I have them winning against the Jaguars, who are putrid, to say the least, and the Bengals, who aren't going to be much better than the Jaguars.
Yeah, the Dolphins, I also have them in last place. I have them a little better, and just because I think Tua is going to be a significant improvement from where they were last year with, I guess, like Josh Rosen and Fitzpatrick. But I think defensively, they're also not as bad as people say. Their secondary is okay. Probably the best part of that team being like kind of average, but the Dolphins don't really have too much to offer, and no one's expecting much of them. Like I say with a lot of teams, it's just a rebuilding phase. We all know that they're not going to be good this year, but I think they have a lot of pieces that in a few years they're going to be a pretty good team again. And I say this with, the last episode I was talking about the Giants and Redskins. I think the Dolphins are a team with even more pieces and draft picks possibly, and just a young talent that can develop. They're just not there yet. I like the direction they could be heading in, though.
Yeah, totally. I 100% agree. It's going to be really interesting to see Tua's rookie year, if he can stay healthy and if he can produce things that, we don't know if that's going to happen. But he does produce. I still think this team is not destined for anything too good. I have him at 3-13, so Sammy, you had him at 4 wins, right?
Yeah, 4 wins.
So yeah, right in between you two guys, I have them at 3 wins. They have a really tough schedule. They're in a good division with the Bills and the Patriots, especially now that the Bills are. So that's why I have them here at 3 wins. But let's go on to our third place team. Who wants to go first?
I can go.
All right, go ahead.
I think we'll all have the same team here, and I have the New York Jets. And some people, because at the end of the year, the Jets were a team that kind of got hot, and
they finished strong.
They started
off 0-6, right?
They did, and then they finish off with a 7-9 record, and I actually think that's really bad for them because they're not a good team. I mean, just look around; they have probably the worst defense in the NFL.
You mean really good for them? You mean really good for them?
Going 7-9?
Yeah.
No, I think it's bad. I just think
you think it's bad. Wait, you think it's bad for them?
Just so draft wise.
Draft wise. I thought you meant like expectation wise.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think 7-9. Them going 7-9 last year was just not good because I think a lot of Jets fans and maybe they think they're a good team now, but they have Jamal Adams. He goes away. Goodbye, and their defense is horrible. There's nothing to offer that on the defensive side, and offensively, the reason I have him above the Dolphins is honestly Le'Veon Bell. I know he had an off year last year, but I don't think he's going to be back to where he was in Pittsburgh, but he'll still be good. I think Le'Veon Bell will still put up good numbers next year, better than last. And Sam Darnold is going to be slightly better than he was last year if he stays healthy, which we know last year he had mono, which was just a whole predicament for the Jets. But I think their offense is actually slightly improved, even with the loss of Robbie Anderson. But their defense is so bad that their record's going down. I think when they got hot at the end of last year, it was a bit of a fluke. And I think the Dolphins actually have a brighter future than the Jets do. That's why I say 7-9 was tough. The only thing I will say, the Jamal Adams trade does give him, 2 first-round draft picks for the future? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. He got 2 first rounds and I think a third. Might be wrong on that.
Yeah, I mean, so the Jets, the talent they have now, I don't think it's better than what the Dolphins have for the future, but they do have some draft picks. This year, 5-11 is what I have for the Dolphins. Or Jets, excuse me.
You mean Jets?
Yeah.
Jets.
Oree, do you want to go next or should I go next?
Yeah, I'll go next.
I'm saving the best for last then.
Yeah, save the best for last. So I agree with you, Sammy. I mean, I think they're going to be, what they did last year was kind of fluky. I will agree with you there. When they got off to, when they ended the season really, really hot. I don't think they're going to be able to keep that streak going into this season. I have them at 6-10, so because you got them at 5 wins, I have them at 6. I think Sam Darnold, he's probably going to be a little bit better, but this defense is atrocious. Especially now that they lost Jamal Adams, they not only lose their star safety, but they also lose a leader on that team of that defense. And when you lose a player like that, that's going to have some bad effects. And I think we're going to see that this year. You mentioned a really, really interesting point, how the Dolphins have a brighter future than the Jets. And I'll have to agree with you there. I mean, if Tua can, live up to his expectations and, stay healthy and be a really good quarterback, then they definitely do because they have more young talent. I think they definitely have a brighter future, and it wouldn't surprise me if they made some off-season moves this upcoming offseason
They
next
definitely
year.
have a lot of cap room.
Yeah, they have a lot of cap room. That's true. And they might be better than the Jets come the next season. And that wouldn't surprise me because, this Dolphins team is really building from the ground up, and they have a really, really bright future. Jack, did you have the Jets here?
Yeah, so I think the Jets defense, the one thing, Sammy, you said they were horrible. I think this season they're going to be horrible with their two best players, Jamal Adams leaving and then CJ Mosley opting out.
Yep.
I think in the future, they're definitely going to have a bunch of good draft picks to build on.
Absolutely.
Sam Darnold is a really young quarterback who I think is going to have a very bright future, maybe brighter than – I think he's definitely he has a higher floor than Tua does, I would say. But, yeah, and I would say that Greg Williams, who is the Jets defensive coordinator, is the best defensive coordinator in football, hands down. So I think that he could make some stuff happen. But I don't think the Jets are going to do well this year just because of the fact that CJ Mosley is opting out. I don't like Adam Gase as their head coach. I have them at 4 wins, going 4-12. I think you guys really recapped it, but I do think the Jets have a brighter future than the Dolphins. I think it's completely unfair to say that the Dolphins have a brighter future than the Jets.
Really?
Yeah. I think outside of Tua and Devontae Parker, the Dolphins don't have much going on.
I mean, their secondary has, some really nice pieces, young pieces too, and they've been able to smartly build around it these past few years. And I just think,
but
in terms of management, I think the Dolphins are doing a much better job of rebuilding because the Jets haven't been a good team in a long time, and then they go sign Le'Veon Bell for a crap ton of money.
But that was the old. It didn't make sense. That was the old management. Joe Douglas is the new GM, and I really trust Joe Douglas. I think he's a very good GM. I think what he did with Jamal Adams to get, even though they might not be high first-round picks because it's the Seahawks, to get 2 first-round picks for a guy who had no trade value whatsoever because everybody knew that he wanted out of New York for the sole reason that he was lazy and didn't want to take time. He wanted to play for a winner this instant. But I really trust Joe Douglas. I think next season, the Jets are going to have 3 first-round picks. One is going to be high. The other 2 are probably going to be lower. But still, 3 first-round picks. I think the Jets are going to have a very good chance in the next couple of years of becoming a good team.
Well, I think it's going to be dependent on them really hitting on those draft picks. And if they do, you're right, they could be a really good team in the coming years. But let's go on now to our second place spot. And I think this will be where we might disagree. I'll start us off. I have the Patriots here. They signed Cam Newton, who I think is going to be good, but he's not going to be as good as he used to be. He's not going to be back to that MVP Cam Newton that we know. The reason that I have this team in second place, winning 9 games, is because this defense is absolutely incredible. It's a really, really good defense. You obviously have Bill Belichick. So for those reasons, I give them 9 wins. If they had a few more weapons on the offensive side, I probably would give them more. But just because they have a lackluster offense, even with Cam Newton, that's why I have him here at second, below the Bills, and 9 wins.
Well,
I smell some disagreement.
Disagrees with this.
I disagree, and I have the Bills in second place. And Jack, do you have the Patriots or Bills in first?
I have the Patriots in second place. I agree with my boy Oree on this one.
I'll let you go first, and then we can kind of.
Okay, yeah. So my saying. Never doubt Bill Belichick. Well, I am breaking the cardinal rule. I am doubting Bill Belichick, not for the reason that I think the Patriots are not going to be good. I have the Patriots winning 10 games at 10-6. I think the Patriots are going to be very good. But I just looked through their schedule, and I think I had the Patriots beating the Bills twice, but I still think that the Bills are going to have a better record just based on their schedule.
That's funny. I have the Bills beating the Patriots twice, I believe.
Well, that's actually kind of hilarious.
That's kind of weird, but yeah.
I think their defense is going to be spectacular. I don't think anyone is doubting that. But I think Cam Newton is a big question mark. I think we don't know what he's going to be, And I think I can't really trust a quarterback who is coming off a pretty big injury, who is coming off a pretty lackluster season. So, I could be completely wrong on this, but it's just how I feel.
Well, I am going to have to disagree. And I think it comes down to the fact that the Patriots have the building blocks of a good football team. Like, the offensive line is top 10, maybe even top 5 in football. The secondary, even losing some players to opt-outs, is one of the best in football, top 10, top 5. Their defense is probably, up there 2 or 3 all around. They have maybe not the flashy pieces, They don't have, like, the weapons like some of these other teams have, like the Bills have. And they don't have Cam Newton's a question mark, like you said. But I think when it comes down to being a good football team, we're going to see at the Patriots that it comes down to the fundamentals. It comes down to having good coaching, good play calling, which Belichick obviously has done his whole career. It comes down to that. It comes down to having the good O-line, super important, and a good defense. And if you have those pieces, all Cam Newton and his, these pieces that surround him have to do is be adequate. Cam Newton just has to hit those short throws, and he has to, maybe on occasion find get some deep throws in. I don't think he's going to have to do anything incredible for this team to be good. I'm with 11 wins, 11-5. I think they're a better team than the Bills, and I don't not like the Bills. Don't get me. I love the Bills still. My wording is a little tricky today, but my beef with them is. Yeah, I don't really have too much beef with the Bills. It's just the Patriots, I think, have those fundamental pieces of a football team down better than the Bills do. The Bills have some of the more flashy pieces. Josh Allen probably has one of the best arms in the game. I love him. Don't get me wrong. And then they have, their secondary is obviously incredible. Tre'Davious White. They add Josh Norman, Micah Hyde. Really good stuff from that secondary. And then they have the great receiving core. They add Stephon Diggs. They still have John Brown, and they still have Cole Beasley. They have some of those.
Do you think it's fair to say they have the best secondary in football?
I think when healthy, the Patriots do, actually. I think not yet. I think they're up there, though. They're up there.
Their cornerback, Josh Norman, is a good cornerback, and I think that.
He had an off year last year.
Yeah, he had an off year last year, but I think Tre'Davious White, one of the best. I think he's a top 3 cornerback in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, it's not like I have beef with the Bills. I am winning 10 games. I really like a lot of the things they're doing. Sean McDermott, who they just extended yesterday, he's one of the bright young coaches in this game. I really love him, but I think the Patriots can't be slept on, even when losing Brady. This is still a good team. I don't think Brady has done anything spectacular these past few years. He's just been solid, consistent, which is what I think Newton can be a little bit of that. And that's all they're going to need because all the other fundamental pieces are there for the Patriots. And Bill Belichick, like Jack always says, and for some reason he's going against this, never doubt Bill Belichick. I'm not doubting Bill Belichick. And if he fails me this year, then I'll maybe start casting some doubt. But this Patriots team is still a good team, even without Brady, even without Gronk, who they did lose 2 years ago, but he's coming back. But their defense is incredible. Their O-line is great. The weapons aren't necessarily incredible, but you might not need that when you have those fundamental pieces down.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have the Bills winning 10 games. So, they're only 1 game above the Patriots in my prediction. I think what sets them apart is the pieces on the offensive side that I think the Patriots are just not going to be able to overcome. But I still have them winning 9 games. And, the reason being is they're only going to have to score like 21 points to win. This defense is so good that I'd be confident for them to win every game they score 20, maybe not every game, but most games that they score 21 points or more. But that kind of does it for our predictions, right? Does anyone want to say any?
Yeah, I agree. The Bills and Patriots are 2 teams that definitely could win this division. I'm not saying the Bills have no chance or whatever. I think it depends on what you value. It depends if you value, the more, like I said, the fundamental parts of a football team, like the O-line, defense, secondary, some of the more not as flashy pieces, or if you value, your quarterback, your wide receivers, and I think it just depends because
Sammy,
different teams are different.
Sammy, I know what you just said is correct, but you phrased it a little bit off. You said value your quarter, or maybe you value your quarterback or the flashier pieces. Do you think you can win without having a good quarterback?
Yeah.
I don't think there's been
you can.
maybe 2 different times in the history of football that a team has won a Super Bowl without an above-average quarterback.
I'm not saying that the Patriots are winning the Super Bowl. I'm saying they're winning their division. And teams have won their division without a good quarterback in the past.
But it is very rare. It is very rare.
I mean, I know I say this a lot, but the Bears a few years ago, Mr. Trubisky was nothing special. All they're going to need is
understatement about being nothing special.
But Cam Newton doesn't need to be that great. This Patriots team.
No, I mean I know.
I think all around is better than that Bears team. I mean, and I'm winning 11 games, which isn't anything crazy. That Bears team with a horrible Trubisky quarterback won 12. I mean,
right.
I don't.
A team can ride on the backs of the
fair.
Defense.
I guess that's fair.
I mean, we've seen the Ravens. The Ravens won the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, who, yes, was fringe elite in some cases back then. But
back then he was fringe. He was fringe elite back then.
He was fringe elite, but they won the Super Bowl. I know, but I mean, he was. And that's something that the Patriots can do. That's something that they can do.
But I think that a lot of it does depend on Cam Newton, whether he's going to have a good season, whether he's going to have a bad season, whether he's going to be hot, whether he's going to be cold. And that is a perfect segue to our next segment, which is Hot and Cold. So I'll start us off here with my hot. Now, I have DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu has been smoking hot. He has a 479 on-base percentage this season. He is batting .431 this season with an over 1,000 OPS. Now, doesn't have the highest batting average on the league. That's Chuck Nasty, I apologize, word pod, who I think, Oree, you have Chuck Nasty, right?
No, I got Charlie Blackmon.
That is Chuck Nasty.
Oree?
What?
Bro, that's going to be added to the blooper reel.
Oops. I'm sorry.
That's going to be added to the blooper reel.
Oh
but anyway,
God.
so Oree has Charlie Blackmon. So I think, Oree, you want to go ahead with your hot?
Yeah, okay. So Charlie Blackmon, yesterday, he was good. I mean, right now he has a 472 batting average, a 506 OBP. And it's not just singles. I mean, he has 3 home runs. His OPS is over 1,000 at 1.187. So he's been extremely key part of that Rockies offense. And, he's really been the driving force on that team, and they've been extremely hot. And, you can't say that Charlie Blackmon has not been a big impact because he's been a massive impact. Right now, I'm pretty sure he has the highest batting average in the league, I'm pretty sure, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been absolutely lights out. But Sammy, who you got for hot?
I'll agree. I mean, I bet just overall the hottest player in baseball is probably Charlie Blackmon, but this past week, highest batting average belongs to none other than Jesse Winker, a guy I've always really liked from the Cincinnati Reds, a team that has relatively been kind of struggling, but Jesse Winker has been playing great. This past week, he went 11 for 17 with 2 doubles and 3 home runs. That's 1 week. And that's a 647 average-wise. He also stole a base, which he's not the fastest guy in the world, not super accustomed to doing. So he's doing it all out there, and he's one of those guys that he's a young guy. He should be in the conversation for one of the young stars in our game, because I think in a few years, Jesse Winker could surprise a lot of people and really come into his own. Showing it here, he's had an absolutely amazing week. Love the guy. And do we want to go to our cold now? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Should I start?
Yeah,
go.
I was a little bit anxious, but go ahead. Go ahead,
All right.
Sammy.
All right, I won't take too much time. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go with Joey Gallo. And we all love Joey Gallo. He hits tanks all the time, and he only had one hit this week. Ironically, the hit was a home run because he's Joey Gallo. That's basically all he does. But he was 1 for 17. He had 9 strikeouts, and it's cold for sure. But for Gallo, it's kind of routine. He's a very hot and cold guy. He has weeks where he'll hit like 3 or 4 home runs, and then he'll have weeks like this where he strikes out 9 times. I mean, it's been rough sledding for him, and he actually, I believe, was one of my picks to lead the league in home runs. It might be a little tricky now. He hasn't been super hot lately. Obviously, he's cold, but maybe he'll be able to heat up in a little bit and get that heat back. But hit my mic. And but yeah, Joey Gallo has definitely been cold these past few days.
Yeah. So for my cold, we don't have a player. We have a team. I got the Houston Astros as my cold team for many reasons, but I'll start off. They've lost 6 out of the last 8, so obviously not that good. They had a 3-game set against the Giants, who are not a very good team, and they lost 2 of those games. And, reason being is that their star players aren't performing that well. You look at Jose Altuve, who's been on this segment before. He's hitting 187. George Springer, another one of their cornerstone players, batting 188. So both of those guys on the offensive side are struggling. And then on the pitching side, arguably their ace, now that Verlander is injured, Lance McCullers, who almost had a no-hitter, who pitched really, really well. Even with that, he still has an ERA over 6, which shows how poor he's been pitching before that start and through the early part of this season. This cold start from the Astros is really, really, it warmed my heart is not cold because I'm very happy that they're struggling, obviously because they cheated. But yeah, so those are the reasons that they're not performing, and if they don't turn it around soon, the season is short, as we know. They could be facing some real trouble heading into the back half of this season. Jack, who you got for cold?
So for cold, I have Chris Davis. Now, not your Chris Davis, Oree. The other Chris Davis. Although I think it is fair to say that your Chris Davis could also be on the segment weekly.
So Chris Davis, K
with K.
With a K.
Correct.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Davis with a K. Every Chris begins with K. No, but
That's not
he's
true.
batting 150. He has 1 dinger. He's batting 150. 227 on base percentage, 477 OPS. He has a 36 OPS plus. That is not what you want to see, ladies and gentlemen. He is very cold, and it's kind of his average is very low. But what's unexpected is how he only has 1 home run because he is known to be a power hitter, and the A's are doing well. The A's are one of the best teams in baseball right now, and it's kind of surprising and a little bit unexpected.
Well, yeah, they've been getting a lot of help from a lot of the other guys. I mean, Olsen's been doing well. Chapman's been doing well. Robbie Grossman has been pretty hot lately. I was actually thinking of putting him on this segment today, but I think Davis will eventually get it back. It's 1 home run. I did not know that. That's a tough way to start a year for a guy who is notorious for hitting the long ball.
Yeah, and I mean, the A's are a really hot team. But some unexpected teams that are playing especially well at this point in the season include the Tigers, my Orioles. We know the Miami Marlins are playing extremely well. And, we talked about Charlie Blackmon of the Rockies, who have one of the best records in baseball. So out of those 4 teams, guys, who do you think is most likely to keep this up? Which teams are sustainable? Which success do you believe will go throughout the rest of the season? And who do you think is going to start falling off and coming back down to what we expected at the beginning of the season?
I believe that out of those 4 teams, the Rockies are the ones who we can bet on to sustain this. And I think it comes down to the fact that they're absolutely stacked on offense. I mean, come on. Nolan Arenado, Chuck Nasty, who's been absolutely leading the league in batting average, Trevor Story, David Dahl. We've talked about the Rockies before, but even if this pitching staff, which is not supposed to be good by any means, but has been, even if they cool down, this offense is good enough where if you score like 5-6 runs a game, which they've been doing, you can win ball games, and that's what they've been doing. Even if this pitching staff cools down, they've got enough to a good enough start where I think they'll be fine, and they'll be able to get in the 8-game playoff and maybe even find success in the playoffs because they've had some success in the playoffs in the past. So Rockies, I like them out of those teams. The team I actually don't think is going to be have sustained success is going to be the Tigers. And that's just because you look at the talent, it's not there. I've talked about that when we were doing our season predictions. There's nothing about that team that screams to me, we're a good ball club. And besides that, the teams they beat, nothing impressive. Most of their wins have come off the Royals and the Pirates. I mean, those are the Royals are a little better maybe than the Pirates, but those are two teams that are not good ball clubs. And the Tigers, if they're going to want to sustain a winning record, are going to have to beat some better teams. They're going to have to go in and beat the Indians, the Cubs, even some teams that aren't doing as well right now, like the Brewers and Cardinals. It's the Tigers. I like what I'm seeing from them so far, but I just don't think it's possible for them to keep it up.
Yeah, and I think that even if these teams cannot keep it up, even if they all start to go downhill very quickly, I still think that they're going to have better seasons than what people expected them. And still, what the Marlins, the Orioles are doing is very impressive. And, I mean, it might not be the smartest thing for them to win all these games because if they don't make it in the postseason, they're going to have a bad draft pick. But it's definitely impressive. Let's move to something that everybody knows for a fact is dumb. And that is Jack's dumb Twitter takes. Now, I have a fantastic one for you guys today. It is from Ryan M. Spader from 2019, very recent. This was when Antonio Brown signed with the Patriots.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Ian Rappaport tweets, source, AB has agreed to terms with the Patriots. Now, Ryan M. Spader, verified and everything, retweeted that and commented, oh my gosh, Soto just hit another homer. He is ridiculous. But anyway, he retweeted that and said, AB will have a better season than Randy Moss in 2007, and Tom Brady will throw 50 touchdown passes again. I don't have to tell you, I don't think AB and the Patriots worked out that well.
No. I mean, he had a touchdown in that one game, so I will give him that one game. True. So, I mean, technically, he was on pace to catch 16 touchdowns in a season, which is very impressive. But when you only play one game,
kind of hard to do that.
Yeah. Antonio Brown, man, we haven't really talked about him on this show, but he is an absolute nutcase. I mean,
it's like one day he's retired, the next day he's signed, and then he's suspended. I mean, he's really all over the place.
Yeah, I worry about the guy. I mean, it's sad too because he is a guy who has had success in his NFL career, but like he had so much talent and potential to do so much more, and he just threw it all away by being basically a big baby with everything. I mean,
no way. I don't think there's any way he ever plays again.
I don't think so. Although I have heard rumors that he might be going to the Seahawks, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think GMs and owners cross him off. I think you don't want a guy like that in your locker room. Like, it's not worth it. Even if he's going to catch like 16 touchdowns or whatever. It's like, I don't want a guy like that who's absolutely crazy messing things up in my locker room because team chemistry and things off the field sometimes for a football team can be just as important as things on the field. And talent-wise, obviously Antonio Brown's incredible, but it's sad to see that he's probably not going to be playing ever again.
Yeah. But Let's move on now to some NBA bubble awards. We know that the NBA regular season in the bubble is close to over. I think teams have 1 or 2 more games left. So we're going to be giving out some awards here. We got MVPs and best team. So let's start with some MVPs here. Jack, who you got as your bubble MVP?
Hey, yo, you're muted.
Yeah, Jack, you're muted.
I apologize. 2020 problems per se. Well, I have Devin Booker. As Stephen A. Smith would say, he is a bad man. Now, you might think Luka Doncic, but when it comes to MVP, we're not talking about best player. We're talking about the most valuable player. And I don't think there's anyone that's more valuable to their team than the Suns. Because who would have expected the Suns to go into the bubble and be 7-0? He's hit a buzzer beater. He is the sole reason why the Suns are 7-0. Without him, I don't know if the Suns win any games, let alone winning 7 in a row. So that is my pick for MVP. Sammy, let's swing it over to you.
I'm going to have to go a little bit of a similar situation, and a lot of people, Oree might say this, I'm not sure, but a lot of people are going to say TJ Warren just because of how unexpected he was, which I'm not going to try and diminish what he did. He came into the bubble and looked like MJ. I mean, it was pretty incredible, but I'm going to have to go with my guy, Damian Lillard. And when you talk about being valuable to a team, Damian Lillard for years has been an absolute stud for the Trailblazers. I mean, let's just look at his past few games. I'm just going to talk about his past 4. 61, 51, 22, a little bit of a down day, and 45. I mean, that's half the bubble right there. I mean, I don't have words to say how insane that is. And what he represents for the Trailblazers, he single-handedly, I think, has put them back into that playoff race. And I think for that reason, the Trailblazers are going to end up in the playoffs. We'll see later today or tomorrow how that all ends up. But he's been super clutch. He's come up late in games, really clutch. And, I mean, just those stats alone, 61, 51, and 45 points. Damian Lillard is my bubble MVP.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also have Damian Lillard. I was thinking about TJ Warren, but then I remember Damian Lillard he's the star of this Trailblazers team, and he's put them in the 8th seed that they now have. Yes, they're going to have to play, kind of like a 3-game set or like a 2-game set against the 9 seed, whoever that may be. But he's been incredible. I mean, he single-handedly beat the Sixers when he scored. His down day is 22 points. Are you kidding me? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, unheard of stuff from Damian Lillard. I just want to see him in the playoffs. I want to see playoff Dame, and I want him to just absolutely destroy teams, which I think he will.
If you think bubble Dame is good, playoff Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still going to
be playoff Dame Dalla. I mean, I want to see him in the playoffs so badly.
Oh, my God. I love the guy.
Because it's kind of like The Last Dance taught me that MJ would make stuff up to motivate himself, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that Dame does the same thing. When he missed those free throws, I mean, he came back with 2 50-plus games. And you know what was an interesting stat?
What?
There have been 2 players in NBA history, only 2 in NBA history, to have 3 straight regular season games with 60 or more points. One is Damian Lillard. Can you name the other one?
Wilt Chamberlain.
Bing. Correct. I think it's kind of crazy. You would think James Harden or Steph Curry would have got that by now, but isn't that crazy? I mean, he's in rarefied air.
And Damian Lillard is honestly one of my favorite. I was talking about Luka the other day, but Damian Lillard is one of my favorite NBA players just because of the fact that he is loyal. Mm-hmm. There are no other. I mean, it is hard to think of other NBA players that have really wanted to stay loyal to a city and to a team. Damian Lillard is that guy. He has said time and time again that he wants to stay in Portland and bring the Trailblazers a championship. And that's a guy I have to respect because in the NBA has turned into a league that so many guys are just teaming up and forming these super teams so they could get themselves a championship. But Damian has been a trailblazer his whole career, and he wants to bring a championship there. And that shows something about a person and something about a player. I love the guy, and he's talented, he's loyal, he's an absolute monster, and I really want to see him in the playoffs because maybe, we never know, maybe we can see him bring a championship to Portland. We'll have to see, but I love Damian Lillard. He's
Yeah, me too. I totally love the guy. Hope to see him in the playoffs. Hope he performs well. But let's go into our next award here. We got Best Team in the Bubble. I think we might all have the same team. I think it's kind of obvious, at least for me. I have the Suns. They've gone 7-0. So that's why I have the Suns. I mean, they've been killing it. Jack was talking about Devin Booker and how he's been helping lead that team. And I can't agree with you more there, Jack. So do you guys also have the Suns as your best team?
Yeah, because, I mean, the bubble is obviously a situation where it's good teams. I mean, these are teams that were in playoff contention. So it's not like they're going out and beating, like, the Knicks every day or whatever. Like, they're going out and they beat some really good teams. And I will say a lot of the help has been from Devin Booker, but you can't win games with one guy. I mean, it's been a whole team, thing for them. And they have their last game in the bubble today, which you guys will be seeing this after, so you'll know, but it's at 30 minutes from when we're recording this, so I'm excited to see. They're playing the Mavericks, and if they could win that game, they would have gone undefeated in the bubble, and they are in playoff contention still. There are still a lot of chances for a lot of things to happen with that whole eighth seed, tough word pod, eighth seed thing in the Western Conference, but the Suns have been the best team in the bubble, without a doubt. I mean, they hadn't lost a game. And maybe they could extend that to 8 and stay undefeated for the entirety of the regular season bubble.
Yeah. I think, just to kind of go into the whole playoff picture a little more, right now the Trailblazers have the 8th seed. They're still going to have to play a series against the 9th seed, whoever that may be. Right now, the Grizzlies and the Suns are now tied for that 9th seed position, both 20 games back from first place. And the Grizzlies, they're playing the Bucks, and the Bucks are obviously the best team in the Eastern Conference, a very, very good team. So if they lose that game and the Suns can beat the Mavericks, they will sneak in to the 9th seed, which will be electric. I mean, watching the Trailblazers and the Suns play for that 8th seed is going to be super exciting.
Well, and it's interesting because the Bucks and the Mavericks are both teams that I'm pretty sure have nothing to play for. I mean, it's really no one really has anything to play for except for the Blazers, the Suns, and the Grizzlies. And it's really it's interesting. I mean, right down to the wire at the end of the season. I'm excited. And next episode on the topic, we're going to have our playoff bracket all set. So we'll be able to do our NBA playoff predictions I have some pretty hot takes I'm excited to share with you guys for that. But now we're going to be moving on to our next part of the show, which is Oree's Amazon product of the day. So,
yes, sir. Okay, so
I think he has a good one, right? You have a good one?
Yes, I do.
He has a good one. All right.
I think this may be the coolest product we've had on this segment. It's a product that I will definitely in to buy. The rating is 4 out of 5 over 50, with over 5,000, reviews.
Wow.
So 4 stars out of 5, which is good. And it's called Miracle Berry Fruit Tablet. So let me just explain.
I bought this. I have had this product.
You've had
this is it's amazing. 5 stars. It is so sick.
I knew it. I knew this was good. Okay, so let me just give you guys a breakdown of this product. It will turn your taste buds tablet that you let dissolve on your tongue, and it confuses your taste buds to make everything that is sour think it is sweet, spicy tastes sweet, sweet tastes spicy and sour. It flips your taste buds to the point where you could eat whole lemons and think they're super sweet. I have a funny review here that says, "This is super cool. I ate a 4th cup of mustard because of this. Because apparently
Oh
it
my
makes
God.
mustard taste delicious. So I think this is incredible. It's just it's a completely natural fruit tablet that you just put on your tongue, let it dissolve, and it will flip your taste buds upside down. Sammy, you seem excited.
I've never heard anything like this before. That's pretty cool. I mean, I have to say, and I'm very curious to see what it would be like. Jack has one. I mean, tell us about it.
Yeah, Jack, tell us the experience.
Well, I can tell you it works. Lemons, you can just bite straight into a lemon. And the best food is strawberries. Have you ever had like a strawberry covered in sugar? Like dumped sugar on a strawberry? It's like that, but it's healthy because it's just strawberries. And it's actually meant to for like people trying to lose weight. But bro, it is fantastic. I think I still have some in my fridge, but I don't know if they expire.
I need this product. I need it.
Oree, it is it is, when I say incredible, I mean incredible. And that is a good note to end on. So Oree, do you have any last words?
Let me see. Not too much. I just want to say thank you guys for the support on the YouTube channel. We'll be posting every single podcast and also shorter 5 to 10 minute clips of some segments, which I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure you subscribe, comment, all that. Another way that you can reach us through YouTube, comments on the videos. We'll read them all because we don't have too many. So thank you guys so much for listening. That's all I got.
Yeah, fun episode as always. This is I think we're at 26 now. 26. So it's been fun grinding these out, and NBA playoffs will be almost starting by the next episode. So we'll know by the next episode what happens with the 8th seed and all that. So I'm excited. Baseball's been fun. Cubs, best team in the MLB record-wise. Had to put that in there. Go Cubbies. And, fun episode.
So just to end it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chatter from the Cheap Seats on YouTube. Leave a voicemail, 202-743-1767. That is 202-743-1767. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at chatter_cheapseatspod. We're posting some hot takes on our TikTok. Make sure to check us out there. And that is going to do it for us. So, fun episode, as Sammy would say, and see you guys next time on Chatter from the Cheap Seats.